Getting into retro gaming can be challenging, and starting my journey on one of the most maligned consoles of all time was certainly not an exception. Hi, I'm Paul, and this is Indie Pop Productions, pop culture from an independent point of view. Today, we're going to celebrate some of my Atari 5200 fails. Now, when I say Atari 5200 fails, I don't mean we're going to discuss the decisions and circumstances that led to the 5200 not being the successful successor to the 2600 that everyone at Atari hoped it would be. That is all very well documented. Today, I'm going to be talking about the issues I have encountered while gaming on nearly 45-year-old hardware. There will be crossover, of course, especially in controller land, but this is my 2026 journey, not Atari's early to mid 80s journey. Some of my fails were caused by online shopping and a crazy retro gaming market. Others were simply the result of old hardware. But I'd be lying to you if I told you that finding ways to overcome those challenges wasn't just another part of the retro gaming fun, at least for me. If you've been with me for a while, you know that I ran into challenges on day one. Challenges that I talked about in my very first 5200 video. Challenges like not realizing how fragile this old plastic could be and accidentally breaking the front plate. Or not thinking about how complicated it might be to hook vintage equipment to modern televisions and monitors. One of the things I didn't show in that video was my attempt to play Atari football. All the other games I got in that first packet I purchased on eBay were great. But in more than 2 months, I have still not managed to get anything more than a green screen out of football. I've had a couple other games since then that gave me some trouble, but nothing that couldn't be solved with a lot of love and a little bit of isopropyl alcohol. But my biggest day one challenge was the infamous controller. Found out real quick, my controller goes left and up. Not much you can do with just left and up, but that's okay. I have 2 controllers. Let's plug the other one in. Okay, this one goes right and left and up. Still can't go down. Now, my controller experience was eventually saved by an adapter I purchased from Retro Game Boys, but before that, I tried these 2. I don't know how this is going to work. It is sold as a 5200 one on used on eBay. It's one I had never heard of before. I'd gotten a Wiko controller, and you're going to see that in a video coming up as one of my 5200 fails. Okay. Well, this will definitely end up in my fails video because while it may have the right amount of pins, and was sold to me as a 5200 controller, it does not fit. Right amount of pins, but it is larger than the port itself, so it will not fit in there. For a little bit of context, this Wiko controller was in fact made for the 5200 despite it being a 9-pin controller. The thing is, it came with an adapter to hook the 9-pin controller into the same adapter as a traditional 5200 controller so that you would have the start, reset, and pause buttons as well as the keypad. It didn't work without it. So eBay buyers beware. Everyone's selling these on eBay. Not everyone, but most of the people selling these on eBay are not selling them with that adapter. And it is useless without it. They don't usually bother telling you that it's in the descriptions that it doesn't have it, but look for the sellers that say they do have it. I still don't have any idea what this thing is. It is 15 pin, but as I mentioned in that video, the pins are on the wrong side. But I actually got in a little bit of an argument with the eBay seller about this, who did actually finally admitted that he got all his information from AI. The description was written by AI. He had no idea what he had. Within a few minutes of arguing, he came to reason and stopped, wasn't a jerk about it. He gave me full refund. Since he was in Canada, shipping would have cost him so much to send it back. He didn't even bother. But I want to show you how wrong this is. It is literally the opposite of the controller that you need. So I'm gonna take this. We're gonna take an actual 5200 controller. We're gonna take both of their plugs. They're so much the exact opposite that the 15-pin acceptor, I guess, on the actual 5200 controller actually plugs into whatever this other controller is. So definitely not made for the 5200. No way that would ever fit into the 5200. I mentioned the retro Game Boy adapter. One little bit of an update on that. On the video I did on that, I showed myself trying to play Q*bert with the retro Game Boy adapter and one of the Atari 2600 Plus controllers. It was the Pinky from the Pac-Man celebration controller, and it wouldn't work. Now, the adapter still works. If I plug in, I found out after talking to Mike over there, if I plug in my Master System controller that it made it look like a Master System controller, but with the 5200 mock-up on it, it works a charm. It works great, no problem. It's just for whatever reason, I can't manage to get the Atari controller through the retro Game Boy's adapter to work. I don't know if it's just specifically that controller, if it's something to do with the wireless and that game. I just, for the life of me, could not get that one to work. But I can play Q*bert with the adapter, just not with that controller. And to be honest, I almost never use that controller. It's fun to be able to. I really prefer the controller that he sent me with the 5200 logo on it. That's kind of made to be very much like a Sega Master System controller. I use that one for almost all of my gaming, so Q*bert is obviously not an exception. One of my more recent problems was this copy of Centipede I purchased. Yeah, well, looks like I finally got my working copy of Atari Football. Then there was the copy of Galaga I bought from a guy on Whatnot. I was the only person in the room interested in this one, so I got it for $1. I thought it was very faded. It's actually just gross. It's just really disgusting. I cleaned the cartridge itself, but the sticker is still really gross, and I don't think I want to put this in my console. I don't feel safe. From the same guy in that same auction, I also bought a 2600 for a really good price. He showed that it turned on, so it does. Once I got it, it seems to have a little bit of a short in the power supply. You move the cord, it turns itself off and on, so I don't know about that one. But the biggest problem with that one is it smelled like it had been used as a bong instead of a game console. So I think the things I purchased from him might be a lost cause. More recently, I've purchased a copy of Missile Command that honestly works great. I have a blast playing it. I love Missile Command. It's one of my favorite games. So I was really happy to get this in my collection on the 5200. But it's got a problem I've noticed on a number of my games that have black backgrounds, which a lot of these old games did, but was really even more pronounced on Missile Command. In the 70s and 80s, we could not have imagined on those old CRT TVs exactly how black the blacks could be on our modern screens. It's beautiful. I love my modern TV. I love my gaming monitor for modern games. And I've had a number of people tell me, wow, I'm surprised how good those games look on the modern TVs. And on some of them, that is absolutely true. But on the ones that are black screen with very minimalist graphics on it, the graphics can disappear into the black. It's really hard to play Missile Command. It's been a few of the other games that there was like that to an extent, but Missile Command is almost impossible to play on one of these modern TVs or modern monitors because of how black it is and how much that swallows up the minimalist displays. So I'm gonna have to cave in and do what a lot of people in the comments have suggested over the last couple months, is get myself a CRT TV, set up my little gaming nook in my office specifically for these games. I've already started taking measurements and moving things around. It's gonna be a little while before you see it. I don't have it yet. It's not gonna be like my next video, Paul's retro gaming nook, but that's coming just so I can play these games a little bit better. So the big question, is it worth it? Is it worth putting all that work in just to play some old video games? Old games that you could play in emulation on your computer, on your phone, on an emulation device, games that you could play in one of the many classic collections that are always coming out on one of your modern consoles. Or if you want something a little more tactile, if you want actual cartridges, there's things like Evercade, which gives you an actual physical device to hook it into, either as a handheld or as a console that are made to hook to your modern TVs and monitors, but play those old games on new cartridges. Or if you want something a little closer to the original experience, they have the Atari 2600 and 7800 Plus consoles that look like those old consoles, but take both new and old cartridges made for those systems and are made again to hook to these new monitors through HDMI ports, giving you a lot of the modern bells and whistles for a retro gaming console. And I do some of those things. That's completely valid. I do those, I have done those in the past, and I plan on covering some of those things on this channel in the future. But for me, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the kid in me, the nostalgia that enjoys holding something that I know existed when I was a child, if it's the collector in me that wants something that's not everybody has, or if it's the tinkerer that wants to do that research and figure out, can I make this work? Can I make this happen? But whatever it is, I have received a special kind of a joy for playing these games on this console, and I'm looking forward to sharing more of that with you in the future. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Remember, we do still have that Pocket Taco contest that's coming up soon to get the GameSir Pocket Taco controller for your phone. That Kickstarter should end, I think, in about 2 weeks. And after that, hopefully it won't be too long before they start sending those out. I will have one for myself. I'll make a video, but I've also ordered a second one that I will send out to whichever one of our subscribers wins that contest as soon as we pass the 100 mark, which should be very soon. We're only a few away from that. I'll explain how that contest is going to work, and then one of my subscribers will win that Pocket Taco. And as always, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time.